Welcome, everybody. My name is Judith Silverman Hodara, and I'm a founder and principal at Fortuna Admissions. I'm so happy today to be with one of our expert coaches and one of my favorite people to talk with, Karen Hamou. Karen's background, both in industry and at Columbia Business School, makes her a great partner on this conversation this morning. And today we're going to be talking about how to approach the online application. So for those of you that are in the process of working on your essays, thinking about your essays, getting your recommendations set up, working on your resume, a part that doesn't always get as much attention is the actual online form. So what I wanted to do is ask Karen a little bit of strategy about how to approach this, which may seem easy at the outset, but in fact does require a little bit more thought and planning. So Karen, any thoughts that you can share with us about how to approach the online form?
Sure. I think the biggest pitfall is that candidates tend to wait until the last minute for the online form. They think it's data that they have, they know it. They don't think about the strategy of it necessarily in advance. So what I like to do, I like to complete essays first, as well as resumes, recommender briefs, etc. But I think that all of those other components kind of already get the gears turning so that you're kind of in the right mindset when you're ready to fill out the application form. However, I don't like to leave it until the very last minute because there is data to gather. Even salary and bonus information isn't necessarily as straightforward as you think, and you might need to dig out your old tax returns, right? So what I like to do is reserve the last kind of few weeks as we're polishing the other components of the application. I like for my clients to be working in the background on their application form so that as questions come up, either things they need to research further for themselves or things they need to bounce off me, that we can dig a little deeper and make sure that we have sufficient time to get it all wrapped up and make sure that it's done properly.
So I'm sure your clients ask you a lot, isn't this just a regurgitation of my resume? Why do they even ask me to fill out my job duties online when they're getting another piece of paper that essentially has the same information? What's your feel about that?
I think with the most important aspects of your profile, you can never tell somebody too many times. So in presenting, for example, there's a known saying, tell them what you're about to tell them, then tell them, and then tell them what you told them. Well, that's kind of how I feel about the resume, the application, the interview, right? You're going to give them a preview in your resume. You're going to tell them in your application form, and in the interview, you're going to fill in any gaps and reiterate any important parts. So I think it's okay to be repetitive, but to be repetitive as far as the content, but changing the way that you're presenting the content. So on your resume, it might be bulleted. There might be aspects of your resume that you want to go into a little more depth on the application form, or certain things that you want to highlight and draw their attention to as well.
And one thing from my experience, because I frequently will see the application just before it goes in, you really need to give yourself more than the night before to make sure this all looks good. I'll give you an example. People frequently will put the current year as their date of birth. So, they'll say, oh, I was born in 2018, 2019, when in likelihood they were born probably about 25 to 30 years before that. Sometimes individuals will really struggle with, well, why am I leaving? Why did I leave a certain job? And it's such a great opportunity to talk about the reasons that you wanted a new take on the industry, or you wanted different managerial experiences. And that's a real head scratcher. So doing anything that may seem incredibly simple under pressure, it's inevitable that it's going to become a sticking point. So I really agree with Karen. When we work with clients and in my time at Wharton, when I was working with students, and I would see something like that, and I was like, oh, you left it on the table. Here was a chance for you to really give us some good new information. When you think about it, you've got your resume, you've got your essays, you've got your GPA, you've got your GMAT, you've got your recommendation, and here's something else that you really can mold during the process. So I want to encourage that thought that here's yet another piece of data that's not just quantitative data, it's really qualitative. And that's something that we very much encourage you to think about. Karen, I know that you've worked on a lot of different applications and their online forms. A word about character count, word count, line count, text boxes. Can you give us some insights about that as well?
Ooh, that's the hardest part. All boxes. I think that a very important part of the application process in general is being able to communicate a message in a efficient, concise way. Even in essays, sometimes there are essays that only have space for 200 words, right? It's very, very hard. So some of that is just taking care to not repeat oneself, but also to make sure that the sentences are phrased in a way that is the most concise and, again, the most efficient use of the space that you have. But that's a very difficult exercise. I like to tell my clients, get your thoughts down first, so make sure that it's all there in any aspect of the application, and then we'll figure out how to convey that same message, but in a much shorter way in order to fit the space allotted.
Great. And really, as a word to the wise, check it out. Is it character count with spaces, without spaces? Is it word count? We've had people give us 500 words when it was 500 characters. So I know it sounds silly, but that's really something that you want to be aware of, especially in the actual online form itself. You know, the essays are a little bit clearer, and I think people pay attention to that. What's that word count? What's that final count? Can I be up or under? But really, that online form can prove to be a bear at the last couple of days. So make sure that you keep your eyes on that as well. And again, read it forwards, read it backwards, print it out. Do not rely on what your eye is seeing. Do not rely on spell check. Print it out, hold it with a red pen, and really spend some time looking at what it looks like once it's actually finished, and give it to someone else and have them go over it too, just for peace of mind. So thank you so much, Karen, for being with me this morning, and not such a fun topic, but I still think an interesting one to talk about, the nitty gritty of getting that application in and polished before the final deadline. Again, I'm Judith Silverman Hodara with Karen Hamou from Fortuna Admissions, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you.